and welcome to another Nerdosphere video. This is Enter the Nerdosphere, the official podcast for the Nerdosphere. I'm Clayton, joined as always and forever by my brother, Corbin.
Hey.
Today, we're getting back into reviewing movies / a movie / the Avengers Infinity War. We have both seen Infinity War twice within the first 24 hours. I know. You're jealous. It was okay. You'll get there. It's fine. But we feel super prepared to tell you our thoughts, our feelings. And this will be full of a ton of spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, click away and come back. What are you doing? Go watch it.
Because let's be honest, it would be like The Force Awakens came out and you're like, I'm going to wait a week, but I want to listen to like a spoiler-free version of like a review. It's like, no.
We can't talk about this movie.
The whole society is going to go see this movie. Be part of it.
Here's the spoiler-free review.
Oh,
go see it. It's amazing.
Boom. There you go.
All right, let's jump into it. As always with our movie reviews, we talk about the numbers first. Yes. However, seeing as this is Saturday and it just came out Friday, we only have one day to go off of, but it made a whopping $106 million domestically.
Bombastic.
Already, and that's only gonna grow, so we'll see what it's like later. Internationally, 178 million internationally already, but it's been out a little bit longer.
It's been a few days, but not the typical week.
No, Australia got it like a couple days before or a day before or something, but
yeah.
Anyways, that's a ton of cash.
It's a ton of dough. It came in right below The Force Awakens.
For one day?
For
opening day? Yeah. That's saying something. All right, well, chat to us about the music a little bit, Corbin, because that's right. What we do next, and that's your thing.
Clayton didn't quite create the best segue for that, but yes, we talk about the numbers.
I just segued you. I literally just segued you. I said, talk about the music.
It just seemed a little, unceremoniously handing off the baton, but I'll take it and I'll run with it because now
it doesn't matter how I hand you the baton as long as we get over the finish line.
So there are a few things I want to say about the score of this movie. One is the composer is Alan Silvestri. He is the composer of the first Avengers movie and has had quite a long history in film. He did the Back to the Future trilogy. He did Forrest Gump and has other accolades like Beowulf and stuff. He did Ready Player One. So he has good things under his belt. He has his things like The Croods. So he has not so great things under his belt.
So does everybody, though. Like I've been compiling all these Disney musical songs to create like an epic playlist.
Mm-hmm.
Like one dude did like almost every Disney movie. Like his name's on all of it.
Yeah.
From the 80s to now.
Well,
so
there's a few things I want to say. For starters, I love that Alan Silvestri came back for this movie. I think it's a huge statement. He did the first Avengers movie.
Huge.
And he was going to do the second one, but he and Joss Whedon had some creative spats. And so Joss fired him, and that's why there's two composers in Age of Ultron, which is Danny Elfman and Brian Tyler. Brian Tyler being someone who's composed numerous films for Marvel up to that point. And Danny Elfman, who is kind of a master composer. So they both came in to compose the movie. So I think it's a huge statement for what Avengers Infinity War is and what it represents to have the man who started the theme for Avengers and bring him back in. One of the things that I did notice, when the score came out on Friday, I listened to it. It's 28 tracks. It's 30 tracks if you listen to the extended cut album. Most of the tracks are a little mundane on their own. There are some scores that are like high energy and very flavorful all the way through. This one is very subtle with only a couple tracks that really, really stand out. And I think in this case, it's a good thing. Yeah. It's kind of like when you're scoring a war film, you don't want to distract, but you want to create some sort of tempo and atmosphere moving forward.
Yeah.
And one thing that I loved about this movie is there's two ways I think you could have done this score. There is the one way, which is a little kitsch for me, and it's what Danny Elfman did Justice League, and it is a creative decision that I understand, but I feel like it's pandering, and that is taking individual characters' themes and incorporating them into the movie to in a very heavy-handed way push to you, like, look what's happening. This ensemble's eye candy because I'm making you not only visually see what's happening, but I'm making you hear that this character and his theme is now in this movie, and now her theme is in this movie because they're together now. Whereas Alan Silvestri's score for the Avengers is, it doesn't matter who you were before this movie. If you're in it, you're in an Avengers movie. So the score is just this, which I loved. And the only track that I will say that you really, I think, do need to listen to after watching this movie is Even for You. And it's the track that plays at the Soul Stone. And it is, by itself especially, I think it's a beautiful track because it shows it has a menacing side to it for what is happening in that scene. Mm-hmm. But also there is a hopeful undertone that I get, because again, Thanos in this movie is a villain that you're supposed to empathize with, and he is doing a sacrifice for a greater good.
Right.
So that track is the one that is amazing. Gave me chills. So that's the score. So we can move on.
Oh, hey. I'm still here.
I'm sorry. I felt like there was I had a lot to say on this one.
You did.
I'm sorry.
Because you said it.
But but honestly, one of my favorite things about our reviews is that we talk about that. Yeah. I think composers,
people don't appreciate the music.
They don't,
enough.
And I feel like we need. It's fun to highlight that and bring it to people's attentions.
For real. So let's talk about the movie.
This is the first movie review, by the way, that Clayton and I have successfully not talked about it together, so that we wouldn't have to rehash anything. And I'm really excited because I haven't had a chance to talk to anyone about it besides my wife. But my wife doesn't really like Avengers like we do, so I haven't been really kept inside. And everyone at work saw it either, and I had to work on Friday, and I only had 2 hours of sleep before I saw the movie in 24 hours. And I'm really excited to talk about this movie. This movie was so good.
Let's talk about Thanos.
Okay, so I have a lot to say. Maybe you should say something first.
I liked him.
Yeah, he was so good. So Thanos,
Josh Brolin knocked it out of the park. Holy crap! He did so good.
So there's a couple times during a conversation that I want to bring up the fact that the marketing department did such a great job at making us feel like we were going to go see something, but we didn't, as far as the stones and stuff. But one of the things the marketing department I thought did a great job was selling us a lie on Thanos. Because in one of the very first trailers, we have Thanos saying, "One does not consider pleasure when balancing the galaxy, but this puts a smile on my face." So kind of depicting this very sinister, disturbing villain. Mm-hmm. But the villain that we actually got in this movie was one of such depth.
You could have easily switched perspectives and made him the hero.
Yes,
you could have sold his point of view in a different movie, and he would have been the hero.
They made his perspective with so much empathy, and the fact that he had to kill Gamora to get the Soul Stone and it tore him apart. Mm-hmm. There was never a moment that he took any pleasure in what he was doing. It did tear him apart, but he knew it was for a greater good, and to me, that is so incredible. It was hard for me to believe that people said that this movie was a Thanos movie. I was like, really? Is it really?
I even went in saying the same thing because we discussed that there are a lot of people saying, yeah, this really is a Thanos movie. And I remember I said to you right before we went in, that's hard for me to believe because whenever somebody says that about something, mm-hmm. this really is a blank movie when it's, about something else. And I was like, is it really though? Because it's not ever. But this really kind of was a Thanos movie. At the very least, he was as much a main character as Tony or Doctor Strange,
who were I would say probably the two, because Steve
this
really
movie,
took a back seat.
Can we take a tangent here real quick? Doctor Strange stole the movie for me.
I agree.
He was dope. The character was awesome. He immediately took the lead, mm-hmm. Even more so than Tony, I think, most of the time. And I think that this is a statement. I think he is going to be the new Tony.
Well, we kind of talked about, we had a theory whenever they cast Benedict Cumberbatch
as
Doctor Strange, that he would kind of be that face.
Right.
And this movie
shows
proves that it works too.
Plus, it was so cool to see him. I mean, he was super confident at the end of his movie, like being the Sorcerer Supreme.
He's not that yet.
Okay, so he's just a master of the mystic arts. Sorry.
Yes.
But we know him as the Sorcerer Supreme,
right.
So sorry. But in this movie, he was just like, it's like there was nothing he wasn't able to do or knew what to do, or
right.
There was so much confidence behind him, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So it was neat to see where he's at now compared to, I guess at the end of his movie, it would have been 2 or 3 years ago at this point.
And also Cumberbund's American accent is way better.
I know you had an issue with it, but I never noticed.
Well, it's perfect now.
It is. It was perfect before.
But yeah, so that tangent. My other tangent is not only did Doctor Strange steal the show for me, but for me this was like the first movie that I felt like Peter Quill had like real depth as a character. I know I'm the minority and it's sometimes hard for me to describe my feelings on him as a character, but in Guardians 1, I felt he was very one-dimensional, meaning like I could never really grasp what Star-Lord was thinking. And like maybe it's because I came off of so many years of Parks and Rec and not really knowing like how Chris Pratt could be an actor outside of the character of Andy.
Mm-hmm.
But I really had a hard time grasping of like who is Peter Quill in that movie. And Volume 2, I got a little bit more with like his dad killing his mom and stuff. But this movie, I really felt like he really stood out as a character for me.
He did. And I don't necessarily feel that way like you do about his character. But I think kind of skipping ahead to having an actual relationship between him and Gamora, I think that probably helped a little bit.
Yeah.
For people like you. I think he's an awesome character anyway. So
yeah.
But I agree that he was a standout in this film also.
Yeah. So, tangent done. Going back, we just ended on Thanos. Can I say that, one, the Russo brothers have done a phenomenal job at the tapestry of this film. It felt coherently put together, going between each person's. We had Steve's perspective, Tony's perspective, and Thanos' perspective is the most crude way that I could break that down. And Thor, I guess.
Yeah.
But basically every time it changed the moving piece,
we basically
felt so natural.
We had the entire time we had about 4 different stories going on. So you had like Steve and Vision and all them. Then you had Thor and Rocket, and then you had Thanos, and then you had Doctor Strange and Spider-Man and Iron Man. So
yeah,
and it was actually like sometimes when you get into movies that cut between different storylines, like you really are kind of like the second time I saw it, I was thinking, how cool would it be for somebody to like now edit this all together so I can just watch.
Right.
And sometimes you think that you're in the movie the first time, not when you're in the second time trying to like dissect it a little bit more. So when we were in there the first time, I didn't think about that at all. Like it was perfect the way they cut from character to character. You got just enough here, then we went over here, and then they tied it all together. It was awesome.
And then I loved, so this, unfortunately, I'm going to make this quick. There's
It's not recording.
Did it just stop?
No idea. I hit the button.
I saw it right a second ago.
All right, I'm going to hit it. We'll see how much we lost.
Right.
Okay, so YouTube people, sorry.
Our stuff.
Hopefully it won't be that much and I can just cut it. But if not, this will still be in here and you know that our cameras.
So they also did, for me, one, each character felt like they had a purpose. No one felt like they were shortchanged or just there to be there.
And I really think that it helped that they chose not to have Ant-Man in this one, not to have Hawkeye in this one.
Right.
Because they knew if they were in it, there'd be no point to them.
Right.
Because there's really no place where they could have fit in and made a difference as far as story goes. So it really would have just been filler to have them.
But now their characters have a chance to really shine and have their own story.
Right. And we know that in the next one, Avengers that didn't have a prominent role or weren't in this one are going to have
a prominent role
in the next one.
I also really want to just applaud them at making an Avengers film. So what I mean by that is, and it kind of ties back to music in a sense of the statement of having Alan Silvestri come back is usually when a director creates a rhythm with creative people, they carry them with each one. So like if there's a composer they work with, they take that composer wherever they go. Henry Jackman was the composer on Winter Soldier and Civil War. So you would think, because as directors they have this relationship, they would take them on to the next project. But they said, no, we're doing something else. It's not a Cap movie. This is a brand new project. It deserves its own tone, its own life.
Yeah.
So they took on a new composer. So that was very prominent to me, that it felt different than the Cap films, but it still felt like Marvel, and it still felt like the Russo's tapestry. Yeah. I also want to applaud them for the fact that the moment the movie started, I was really engaged. But what I mean by that is, while every Marvel film feels a part of the MCU, I personally, as a moviegoer, every time a Marvel movie starts, I always have a 10-minute period where I adjust to the director's voice of a Marvel film. And my biggest example actually is the first Avengers. When that came out, that whole first opening sequence with Loki and stuff, I had to convince myself I liked it. I didn't like the way that movie started. I had a hard time grasping on to what the tone was. But when this movie started, I was on board.
I blame Joss Whedon for that.
So basically, like, all the marketing material, things that I've read, my own forced perspective of what the film was going to be, it all jived with what was given to me. And it's like the movie started, and I was just like, I'm in. And what an intro. I kind of predicted it. I did predict it.
You did.
Loki died.
Yeah.
And I'll be
honest. If there was one gripe that I have about the movie, it's how he died. And not that it was brutal, but because when he's talking and he walks up to Thanos and he's like pretending to like say, I'm going to be on your team, it almost felt kind of forced to get him standing right in front of Thanos so that he could like try to knife him. It just didn't feel...
But maybe that was intentional.
Quite right.
Maybe it was intentional because Loki in his head was saying, I have to get close to him.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that. It just... I noticed it.
Right.
So it just bothered me a little bit, but then everything else was so good that, you know, it wasn't that big deal. But
that chokeout scene for me, honestly, the chokeout scene to me was so vivid that I took away a false memory. It was so impactful for me that I thought they pulled the music and all the sound out, and all you heard was like him strangling him. But when I saw it the second time, the music and everything was still there.
Yeah.
It was just like...
That was just you being in that moment.
Right. So that, I think, goes to show just how crazy it was. But we don't know. We know that half the Asgardians are alive, and I assume Valkyrie, Korg, and them are with them.
Well, now they said that... Or Thor said that he killed half the Asgardians, but then he blew up the entire ship. So we really don't know if...
But Tessa Thompson has heavily hinted that she's in the next Avengers movie. So it's hard to say.
Yeah, but she also wasn't seen there.
Yeah.
So she could have, like... I don't know. That's something that was on my mind, at least. Mm-hmm. That the ship's blown up, so...
I think... seeing all the new characters interact with each other was so much fun. You know, it's keep looking at the time because we don't have a whole lot of time to dissect everything. You know what I mean? But having the Cap or having Thor interact with the Guardians was a ton of fun. That whole sequence with like Peter Quill lowering his voice.
He meshed so well with the Guardians, and then the entire journey that he took with Rocket and Groot was just awesome. Like they all just played off each other really well.
Having even like the other Guardians call out Quill for lowering his voice and stuff. It's very reminiscent of what a very tight-knit group of friends would do, where like if someone does something where you just call their shit out. You're like, what are you doing? And you totally embarrass them.
That was a great scene.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and let's talk about Thor real quick, and we probably don't want to talk too much longer, but Thor, this really kind of was an important movie for him because we left him in kind of a weird place because he didn't have Mjolnir anymore. He had just lost an eye. Asgard's destroyed. There's only a small population of Asgardians left. Mm-hmm. And all that is kind of dealt with in this movie.
Well, it also kind of shows really how important Thor is.
Yeah, like he's really important. Like you almost kind of forget because he wasn't in Civil War. He's not... They talk about it in the movie. He hasn't seen them for years. Mm-hmm. And you forget about it. And then when he's able to get Stormbreaker, get his powers back, like, to full, and then even more because of Stormbreaker, and he comes back and just starts, like, obliterating people, and everybody's happy to see him. Yeah, you guys are gonna get it now. And it really shows that he's... Not only does it kind of, like, reinvigorate my love for Thor, but it also just shows how much of a foundational member he is, I guess, to the Avengers.
Yeah.
Because you sometimes forget that, like, the main three of the Avengers, like one of the original three that everybody always, like, kind of looks at as the three pillars of the Avengers is Iron Man, Cap and Thor. And you kind of forget that sometimes.
And literally his whole tangent, well, everyone's tangent is to, like, try to, like, you know, stop Thanos. Thor's tangent is the most realistic one to stop him. And to me, I thought that was such a cool journey to be with him on. To be like, whatever Thor is doing, he's going to kill Thanos. He's going to kill him.
And he basically accomplished it.
Yeah.
That was the Hulk, so awesome.
Hang on, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. The Hulk's journey, I absolutely loved. We know that Thor Ragnarok, Avengers Infinity War, and Avengers 4 is a 3-part story arc for the Hulk character and Bruce Banner.
Yeah, he's going to come out of the next one as kind of the Hulk Banner that we'll see moving forward. Maybe even get his own movie. Maybe
if Universal lets up the distribution rights.
Yeah.
I loved it. After the Hulk got his ass handed to him by Thanos in a really awesome fight scene.
He won't come out.
I absolutely love that dynamic. Again, clever marketing play, because on the money shot of them running in the woods,
it was the Hulk.
Yep. So I applaud you.
Nice let's take a minute and let's just talk about that just real quick, because you've touched on it twice now. The marketing team, especially nowadays, we tend to get too much information from trailers.
Right.
And the marketing team for Avengers Infinity War did a phenomenal job at redirecting, or basically not...
Turned off. It just turned off. The red just turned off. The red just turned off. Maybe do a little thing with Thanos. There we go.
Okay.
Hurry up.
Anyways, the marketing team did a great job at not showing story elements in the trailer and allowing us to believe certain things were going to be a certain way.
Right.
So we didn't know there was going to be something up necessarily with the Hulk, because they left him in, even though in the movie he's not there. They kept all the stones hidden. We only knew that he was getting he had 2 stones. Even when they show him in Wakanda in the trailers, he's only got 2 stones.
So he's gonna fight the heroes on Titan or somewhere else. Right, and then they're all gonna team up in Wakanda. So in our minds, we're even like creating what the story is gonna be.
Right, and it wasn't that at all.
It wasn't that at all. And
which is so refreshing. It was really so nice to go in and see. What? Like when he already had the reality gem. I was like, what is happening right now?
This movie is not what I thought it was going to be. And that whole sequence was cool too.
Yeah, it was.
Where they go and you actually think that the Gamora kills Thanos, and then she starts crying. You go, what the is wrong with you? That also took me by surprise, and I loved that moment. The Benicio del Toro as the Collector was hilarious.
Yeah.
Which hopefully he's not actually dead, but I guess time will tell, because
we'll never know, because
he and Jeff Goldblum deserve to have camera time.
Camera time together.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I imagine I wasn't expecting nowhere to be completely destroyed. I'll say that much.
Yeah,
because they've kind of in both Guardians have hinted that the doggy
Cosmo
that he was there and going to be like maybe take over, because in the comics he's in charge. But,
right.
For those of you that don't know, Cosmo is a dog that we, United States, sent to space, and he got cosmic-fied and now has telepathic powers, and he's in charge of nowhere.
Silliness.
That's another thing I want to bring up before we get too much into it, because it's 25 minutes and we need to wrap this up at some point.
No way.
But
there's so much to say. We're only halfway through.
Okay, when Marvel first started, everything had to be explained somehow. There was always like some technology behind it. Basically, it was all some sort of... Sorry, I bumped my mic. There's some sort of technological reason behind it, so genetically and altered scientifically,
right?
Super tech,
right?
We are now to the point where everything is okay. We have wizards, we have space aliens, we have basically mutants.
Because this is one thing that I really took.
When Doctor Strange was fighting with Tony and Spider-Man, I was like, we've made it. everything is okay.
Everything's okay.
You can have magic and tech and
it works.
Mutants and
that was one of the things I actually thought about when the movie started, was every time we'd been in the Marvel cosmic side of things, it was always hyper comedy. And it's the same reason why they tried to make Thor really funny. It's Kevin Feige's mentality of why comedy exists so heavily in the Marvel films, is that if the audience is laughing, they're more easily able to buy into something that is ridiculous than if it was sold to you as a drama.
Right.
But when Avengers Infinity War starts, it starts in space with essentially a Star Destroyer, which is Thanos' ship, and it's super serious. And I realized in that moment, we have finally reached a point in the MCU where aliens exist and it's serious.
Yes.
Like, not only is that incredibly amazing, but that also means when Captain Marvel comes out, that job has been accomplished, and the Korean Scroll War can be as epic as it possibly can be, and to not be just like.
And when we start getting into, obviously we don't know for sure yet, but it's probably going to happen when we start getting into Galactus, the Fantastic Four, even more of the cosmic universe as we move forward.
Very excited.
I'm excited.
But back to the movie. I kind of like really even want to spend a little bit more talking about Thanos and his journey. One, his journey to the Soul Stone was incredible. I love the flashbacks where we get to learn a little more context to him and Gamora, so that when he sacrifices her, you really feel the pain.
We understand that he really did love her.
And
in his own weird way.
While Lost did not answer all the burning questions its fans had, Marvel was able to answer the biggest burning question that every Marvel MCU fanboy has ever had since the first Avenger. And that was, where the F did the Red Skull go?
No, everybody thought he just got disintegrated. What are you talking about?
No, if you were an idiot who didn't understand what it was, but it clearly was a gateway, and he clearly was teleported. And he clearly was teleported to where the Soul Stone was. The Red Skull cameo not only was amazing, he was not acted by Hugo Weaving, he was acted by someone else who's on The Walking Dead and does celebrity impressions, but it's a great sign that not only is Marvel giving us one closure, but we might maybe be able to see more of the Red Skull, because they've recasted him, we buy him, and he has like other weirdly powers now.
Yeah, he's like, he was tied to the Infinity Stones though, so I don't know, we'll see.
But that whole that was amazing. It was a great cameo that came out of nowhere, answered questions.
I thought it was when he first showed up, I was like, "Is this Death?"
I thought that too.
That's a dude's voice. Are they?
Yeah. I was like,
why are they changing Death? And then it was Red Skull, and I was like, "What's happening?"
The Russos also brought so much texture to this film. I was thinking about that because the Joss Avengers films are. There's always just...
His style is very campy.
Yeah. But this was... Textures is the best word I could describe it. There's just so much there. But Thanos... Going back to Titan and the Avengers fighting was a lot of fun to see. There was a moment, a Valkyrie moment, the movie Valkyrie, where they were getting the glove off. And the second time I watched it, I was able to see the detail that the glove was off.
Yeah,
he grabbed
it
and
pulled it back.
I didn't notice. I just saw it coming off the first time. The second time I noticed he grabbed it.
Yeah.
That whole sequence, I was banging my knee. I was like, come on. We're not, there's still like a third of the movie left. But in that moment, you're so engrossed in what's happening that you're like, oh, no. I loved that sequence.
Yeah.
And seeing all them fighting together. And also, when Doctor Strange gives the stone, and this is just credit to the writing, when Doctor Strange gives the stone to Thanos and
spare Tony,
and Tony goes, "Why'd you do it, Doc?" In that moment, I thought the same thing. I was like, "Why did you do that?" But then after I had a moment to breathe and kind of like think about what I just saw, I realized, no, this is the one time that Doctor Strange saw.
Yeah.
He didn't tell everyone what the one time was.
Tony has to survive.
Right. The way they were fighting, they all assumed was this is the plan that gets us back to everything.
Right.
But Doctor Strange was like, I have to sacrifice myself, which again, Doctor Strange.
Dude, I'm telling you, going forward, Doctor Strange is going to be the man.
He was like, I have to kill myself and knowingly die in order for us to hopefully bring this back. Because it still could go wrong.
Yeah. Spider-Man was
So good.
Oh my god, so good. And the Iron Spidey suit was just dope.
The legs. When he meets Mantis for the first time, I died.
Don't put your legs in me,
no. And you know, I would say going into Infinity War, probably the two films you really need to see the most are Thor and Spider-Man, because the scenes between Spider-Man and Tony have so much more emotional resonance.
Yeah,
if you've seen Homecoming.
If you'd seen Homecoming and you saw how Peter sees Tony and how Tony kind of reluctantly sees Peter, then it would make more sense. And their relationship.
Just turn it off. Hurry. Hurry up. Go. We're getting close to done. Then we'll predict.
I'm not getting up again. We gotta finish this. But yeah, the relationship between Tony and Peter would definitely have a little bit more meaning if you'd seen Homecoming.
Because Wakanda is such a backdrop that you actually don't need to see Black Panther to really understand what's going on.
Right. And I also really liked how Tony kind of deferred to Peter when they were fighting the Maw.
Right.
That was really cool to see. So that's another, I think, subtle way of bringing other heroes forward.
And Ebony Maw was a great side character. Just to quickly say that.
Really cool.
But yeah, he proposed the situation to Peter and said, "What do you think we should do?"
And then
which was a great teaching moment.
Yeah.
And Peter was the reason they were able to save Doctor Strange. So that was really cool. Seeing Thanos go after all the other Avengers in Wakanda was really cool to see him just like plow through them.
Yeah, you could tell at that point he was like, I'm done playing around.
Right.
And just takes them all out real quick. And I guess objectively he was fighting some of the weaker ones anyways, but still.
Yeah, but like when Hulkbuster got phased in the rocks, it's like, oh shit. The scene with Steve was still even more epic now that we know that he had almost every stone in his gauntlet, and Steve was like, I am not going to budge an inch. I will.
And they still had that moment where Thanos for a second was like,
what? Yeah. What? And then punch with the other hand.
Yeah. Oh, another perfect kudos, I guess, to the Russo brothers. I love when a director captures the power of Steve Rogers, and then at the same time, Black Panther in this one, when the entire army's running down and you see both of them just sprint like way further out. Man, that was things cool. Like that just give me the chills, man. It's so cool.
And Thanos' rampage is bringing me to the next section I want to talk about, which is not only has the Marvel done a great job in a short amount of time show us the love that's developed between the Vision and Scarlet Witch, and it feel natural.
Yeah, they did.
But their scenes together are really cool. When they were fighting for their lives in Scotland, and there was a scene where Vision was on the rooftop, and you heard him screaming. That scene really resonated with me both times I saw it. I thought that was really cool. It almost had like a horror element to it.
Yeah.
But how much does it suck for the Scarlet Witch that not only did she have to muster the emotional strength to sacrifice the mandroid that she loved, and then she had to see him die a second time.
Yeah,
that sucked.
And then she herself died. Okay, so let's end it by talking, or by me saying at least, I was super surprised at the heroes that disappeared, because I thought we're gonna have to see how this goes, because we knew this movie was going to shake up the MCU.
We knew that
there were going to be deaths. We knew that going forward, different heroes were going to be at the forefront of the entirety of the MCU.
Right.
I thought that this was going to be the opportunity to, I thought Tony was going to die before he didn't.
Right.
I thought, now that everybody's disappearing, we're going to see what Phase 4, which is not being called Phase 4, is going to be like. But no.
The core Avengers are
Black
also
Panther's
alive.
gone. Spider-Man's gone. The entire Guardians of the Galaxy, except for Rocket, is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Scarlet Witch is gone. Oh, yeah.
Nebula and Tony are tied together.
Not really. Not yet, anyway.
But yeah, so the core Avengers are all still alive with a couple extra newbies sprinkled in. There's like Thor, Cap, Hulk, Black Widow, Hawkeye, and Tony. They're all still alive.
Yeah, but...
but yeah, that's the heroes they chose...
When Black Panther reached down for
what's her face, and then
I thought it was going to be her, and then he disappeared. I leaned forward and go, "What?" I was not expecting.
And the line that
I wasn't expecting.
The line that killed me in this movie was, "I'm not Mr. Stark. I'm not feeling so good,
dude."
That was a moment. But see, that was a moment where you had to have that context. I think that moment to really hit home because Tony has started to see and love Peter like a son, and so like he lost him, and then there's also the emotional weight of like he was only there because of him.
Yeah,
Tony and RDJ did a great job. I think it really showing the emotional depth of Tony in this movie.
Yeah,
and kind of like what he's willing to do. I will say that one of our mutual friends who we used to play Duel Monsters with commented twice now on one of my posts saying
twice.
It's a good movie, but makes for a predictable second. Here's the thing that I want to say to Daniel and to anyone else who thinks that. In one essence, you're not wrong, meaning that we know that the Spider-Man sequel starts filming next year, so we know that he's coming back. But what you are missing is there's not a guarantee that everyone's coming back. There might be some sort of balance where
I was going to say there could be a trade-off. You've been saying for a long time that the fix is going to be Tony dies, everybody else comes back, but it could be that
the core Avengers die.
Avengers die. This could be where Cap dies. This could be where, I doubt Thor will die, but this could be where
Tony dies and stuff.
Tony dies.
So like, yeah, we have a guarantee that Black Panther and Spider-Man are coming back, but that doesn't mean that everyone is still safe when Avengers 4 ends. Also, you are completely discrediting the fact of what this means for every single character involved. Every character in this movie has felt this loss. And any character that died in this movie and is able to come back still has to grapple with that emotional weight. Spider-Man's going to have to come back to life, and he's going to move forward in his next movie, not only having a new perspective on life, but what do I do with it? That is a huge weight to have as a child. You're going to have Wakanda, who just lost their king, grapple with that for whatever this next movie is, and then have his king come back. And what does that mean? Like, does he take the throne back, or is M'Baku or whatever on the throne, or Shuri? So while we know certain heroes are coming back, it doesn't mean the fourth one is going to be a predictable, mundane film. It just means that we know something else is going to change, but there's still a lot of risk.
The only way that it's really predictable is that we know Spider-Man and Black Panther will come back somehow. Because they're going to have movies going forward. That's the only... And I will say this wouldn't be the first time that somebody had multiple deals with Marvel, but the story demanded that they no longer came back. Quicksilver.
Right. There's also the contingencies. Like, what if all of a sudden Sony pulls their agreement or whatever?
Right.
Like, it's 100% not going to happen. But let's just say, for whatever reason, Disney went bankrupt and we never saw another Marvel movie. This is still the story they wanted to tell. Right. And the ending for this film. So if we never saw another Marvel movie...
I also want to say some negative chatter that I've seen, and there's not much, but some that I have seen has been, this is just a huge cliffhanger. It's not. It's not really. Yes, there are some... I don't even think... I mean, the only real unresolved thing is that we're in mourning.
Right.
That's the only unresolved thing. This movie has an ending. We just don't know what the next chapter is going to be.
Right. Like, how do you move forward? Do you track down Thanos?
This is not Matrix Reloaded, literally ending with a cliffhanger.
Right.
This is not the end of a season. This movie has an ending.
I agree.
It's just a depressing one.
Honestly, going into it, I was like, how... And you might not even agree with me, but going to this movie, I was thinking to myself, okay, so we have Avengers Infinity War, and we have 2 filler films in between this and the next Avengers. Captain Marvel makes sense, because we knew that going into this, Captain Marvel was going to be the cliffhanger, and she's going to be a big part of Avengers
I now
4.
have no idea how Ant-Man's going to work.
My thing with Ant-Man, the red turned off. This will be the last time you go up to get it, because we are almost done. I am now really intrigued by Ant-Man, because the way I think it's going to work is it's going to, I think... take place probably just before Infinity War starts, and where Ant-Man ends is going to be maybe like in the middle of Infinity War, and we're going to see Ant-Man's perspective of the disintegrating stuff.
Yeah, maybe.
So we got confirmation in this movie that Ant-Man and Hawkeye took house arrest as a leave because it's hard on their families. I think that's where we're picking up, and Ant-Man's going to end kind of in the midst of Infinity War.
And that was another issue that I've had up until this point is how is Scott Lang like allowed to be home? Like, we knew that he had an ankle bracelet on because of the previews, but like, why was he allowed to do that? Because the last time we saw him, Cap was breaking all them out.
Right.
Of the high security prison.
So I'm actually very intrigued by this movie now to see like how does it fit, and makes me more excited. But Captain Marvel obviously is going to be the one that makes the most sense because it's just explaining her character and her what she's going to mean for the MCU moving forward. But this movie is exactly what I wanted, but also blew my expectations out of the water.
Completely agree.
I wanted to be shaken. I wanted to see deaths.
I did not expect to be holding back tears as I watched Spider-Man disappear off the screen.
Yeah. So, man, this movie was just great.
Yeah.
It was just great.
We're going to have to redo our tier system because this is now tier 1 and everything else is in tier 2.
Yeah, and honestly, now that I've been rewatching some of them, my tiers are changing too. So we're going to have a discussion about that as the Nerdosphere,
we'll talk
how
about
to break
that
it down for
forward.
you guys. How we rank the MCU films, and we're looking at it with fresh eyes. Probably discussing it with a bottle of wine.
Some of them
because they don't age
very well.
They don't. It was a different time. It was back when Paramount was the distributor, which that's weird to think about.
Yeah. Okay, that has been another Enter the Nerdosphere podcast. We fully discussed the Avengers Infinity War. We probably didn't touch on everything we wanted to, but it's already been 40 minutes, so guess what?
You should have aimed for the head.
Done.
That whole sequence where Thanos was like,
touching me. I know, okay?
Maybe that's how we should end this podcast.
With a snap of the finger. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know in the comments. Hit us up on Twitter. What was your favorite part of the movie? And be sure to save your friends from spoilers, okay? Thanos demands your silence.
Yes.
And we'll see you next time.